And we've got a full house in here with us. Major Chris Reed is here with us. How are you, sir?
Hello, good to be here.
You left Adam back at the headquarters, right?
I did. I traded him out for a vast amount of knowledge.
Yeah. We have Andrea Falsetto here with us. She's the Museum Education Coordinator for the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science. How are you?
Good. Great to be here.
We also have Nicole Smith, who's here with us, as always, the Museum Special Events Planner.
Hello, hello.
And it's good to have you. Now, you brought Karen Deeroff with you. She's an aquarist.
Yes, we have invaded your studio with Women of Science. It is going to be a great day.
It's all right. Dr. Nicole Hodges is Museum Research Coordinator, and she brought Pete with her. Pete's here.
Pete
the turtle.
the rat.
The tortoise.
What?
Is he a turtle or a tortoise? He's a tortoise.
Tortoise.
We'll find out the difference between a turtle and a tortoise. Stay tuned. Film at 11. All right, so let's get to it. We'll start with you, Chris, and we'll get some of this thing out of the way. Turkey hunters, obviously, we want to remind you that you must report the harvest this year.
That's right.
It's simple as it can be. You can do it right there on your cell phone. You can make a phone call. You can do it. It's easy, and again, it's merely so the scientists and the biologists can keep up with how many turkeys have been harvested and where.
Yeah, it's data. It's something that Adam and his staff, and they can utilize that data that we receive from the turkey reporting and make better recommendations on harvest, make better recommendations on season limits, season length, and at a county level possibly they'll be able to access data they've never had before. And it is mandatory this year that you report your turkey harvest if you're successful and when you're afield. The process is going well. I think in the next 10, 15 days we should see some increased reporting due
Gonna be some good weather.
Yeah, it's that time of year. But there's always, I guess when change, anybody is going to be opposed to it, or a certain few. And, I just want to kind of clarify some stuff that's maybe floating around out there in the social media world that our officers are using the app or the turkey harvest reporting as a means to track people and to monitor what people are doing and to show up at properties, and they're giving us a lot more credit than they should, because we're not doing that. First of all, we don't have access to the system.
Okay, can I ask you one question?
What you got?
Why would you want to go investigate somebody who killed a legal turkey?
We don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that makes absolutely no sense.
Well,
if you killed a legal turkey and you reported it, what would you to be to investigate to begin with?
Yeah,
anyway?
You know how stuff like that starts out, rumors, and just how that stuff just gains steam somehow or another.
I love the days of when we had a rotary telephone and no social media.
So people have been questioning when they download the app onto their phone and it asks for their location to share the location. They think that it's tracking their whereabouts and that we have access to that. And so what that's for is to give you proper sunrise and sunset times at your current location, wherever you are hunting.
Right.
And the weather.
Right.
Which would benefit you, knowing what the weather is and knowing what sunrise and sunset is, so you can legally abide by the regulations.
These are also the same people that probably have 20 or 30 other apps on their phone that are tracking their location because they agreed to let them do it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So even when you harvest a turkey, like that system is separate from the app itself.
Gotcha. That's
coming from our IT department director, and we don't have access to that stuff. So people may think that we're doing that. When you report your turkey, you're at a county-wide level, so you're at like a 20,000-foot view. You're not even given GPS coordinates.
Y'all don't have enough people to do what you do now, much less to be able to go out and track people that are doing this.
I mean, it's
all right. The process is going well, though.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And obviously,
I also want to
mention detractors. You're always going to have that, Chris.
Yeah. Well, and on a positive note, we're in the turkey stuff. On a positive note, we have the Game Check contest is still open, and this is going to allow one lucky person to win a Benelli Super Black Eagle 3, the NWTF edition.
Mm-hmm.
That's provided by the Foundation and Dad's Super Pond, which is located in Gulfport, Mississippi. So there's a few things you got to do in order to enter the contest. First thing, you need to like MDWFP's Facebook page. Next, you need to like the official contest post, which you can find that on our page.
Right.
and then complete the registration form with the link provided in the post. All this information can be found at mdwfp.com/game check. And then it'll be under the additional information tab. And so, again, we'd like to thank the foundation and Dad's Super Pond for helping us promote this new game check system. That'll be a cool prize for somebody that, all they have to do is like a
No doubt
Facebook
about it.
post and,
All right, let's go real quickly. Let's talk about flooding. We're at historic floods right now, and really trying to get the folks out there to make them understand if you're in these areas, it's dead slow. I mean, idle slow.
Dead slow, no wake. We got to make sure that we're protecting people's property and their person first and foremost. We realize that sometimes this may limit some recreational activities, but people and property, when it comes to a historic flood event like that, they're going to come before recreational opportunities. And so just want to remind people of that. They know about the flooding. It's that time of year people are going to want to be boating more and more as the days warm up. And so they need to be mindful of that.
And also, you guys, and plus, if you send a wake, you could actually send floodwaters into someone's home that is not necessarily in there yet.
Right. Somebody could be like an inch, 2 inches, 6 inches away, and
Right.
and just because you want to go romp and play, which
And this is jet skis, water toys, everything.
Yeah.
Dead, slow, idle, no wake.
idle speed.
All right, and also a brand new cadet class, which is personal to you.
Yeah, so I won't be here next week because
Yeah.
that'll be day one at our facility there in Holmes County. They'll
You're going to put them through the ringer, huh?
we're going to train them to be good conservation officers.
Well, that's awesome. 14 weeks worth of training. How many cadets are going out?
It's a small class this time, around 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always good to get new officers, whether it be 10, 15, 25. We're more geared for a 10 to 20 class. And we've been fortunate enough, legislature's allowed us to get some funding that allows that every year. So if you get 10, 15, 20 every single year, that adds up. And so that's always good. We can get new officers out there and help provide a better service for the public. And
Now, is this their law enforcement training or is this the wildlife side?
Yeah, so they're graduating from the Basic Police Academy this week, Thursday, from Malota out in Pearl, who do a great job training our officers on the basics of becoming a cop. And so they're state sworn enforcement officers with sheriff's deputies and police departments all across the state. And then they come to us, and we train them for 14 weeks on, our bag limits and how to drive boats, how to drive four-wheelers, it's fun stuff.
There you go. And always excited when we can add more folks to our ranks, and that's
Absolutely.
awesome. All right. Well, man, I appreciate it very much, and thank you for getting us all up to date. And
Yeah.
We'll miss you for a couple of weeks. We'll hold the fort down for you, though.
Well, I will be here in spirit.
All right. We're going to keep you seat. We're not going to
And we may even do a show in the next few weeks on kind of like what the process of the academy looks
I
like.
would love to do that because
Yeah.
I'd love to see more people get involved.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. All right, Nicole Smith, we're going to do the rest of the show with the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science. You ready?
That's right. We've been looking forward to this one. It's going to be fun.
All right, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk behind the scenes. Is that what it's all about?
We're going to talk behind the scenes, the museum's mission, and our various departments, what they do within the museum. Some of you may be aware that the museum was established in 1932, so we've been around for a minute, and it was started because of a conservationist and scientist named Fanny Cook. Now, Miss Cook is the whole reason that the department and the museum exist, at least a strong part of that, and she had a real passion for collecting and studying Mississippi's natural world. So without her efforts, we wouldn't be here. But because of her and others, we have about 80 years' worth of study and collections in our research area of the museum, which entails about over 8,080 specimens, I think, right around there.
Wow.
So that's rather...
Andrea Falsetto is here with us. She is with Mississippi Museum of Natural Science. She's the education coordinator. And thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, glad to be here.
All right, so let's get to it. Let's talk about what does the education department do there at the Mississippi Department, or rather the Mississippi Wildlife Museum.
We have all kinds of programs to educate all ages of people, from toddlers all the way up to adults. So we have a summer camp program that registration opened a month ago. We are still taking registration right now. None of those camps are full.
Really?
The camps start at pre-K, so pre-K 3 through 5-year-olds,
Where do they,
all the way up to high school.
If someone's listening, I mean light bulbs. I'm hearing light bulbs going off right now above people's heads going, what? You said a camp that's not full. How do people get in part? How do they get to be a part of that? And what do they need to do to go sign up and register?
On our website, they can visit the education tab, drop down to summer camps, and it has all the camp schedules. And one of my favorite parts about our camp program is that it does go all the way through high school. So if you've got a student that's interested in maybe becoming a conservation officer or a wildlife biologist and they want experience, we take our field camp out in the field with our biologists. This year, they're going to get to work with our bear biologist and go up and potentially look for radio-tracked bears or trap bears. There's a small chance that they would see one, but still, they get to see a day in the life of him.
How about that?
We're going up to
Sounds pretty
Strawberry
neat.
Plains Audubon Society, and they're going to be doing some bird banding with our campers. So that will be a lot of fun.
That is
for those
awesome.
older
So
students.
it goes from K through
Pre-K.
12. Pre-K through 12. Mm-hmm. Wow. How many camps do y'all run? Too many to count on fingers and toes?
Probably 6.
Wow. Also, all right, talk to me about teacher workshops.
We do teacher workshops where teachers can get CEUs. The next set of workshops will be the third week of July 22nd through 26th. We're currently planning what those workshops will be, and that will be on our website in the coming weeks.
What is a CEU? I presume it's something that teachers have to do to stay accredited?
Continuing Education
there
Unit.
There you go. And you can get that done at the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science. Mm-hmm. Wow. So you have something for the kids and something for the teachers. How cool is that? Are those workshops still available, or are they full?
They haven't even been posted yet.
Okay, good deal.
They are still available. And we do offer those statewide. If someone wants to get their school together, we've got outreach educators that can come to your school and do a workshop there.
And then, of course, educational programs, y'all have those as well. Y'all do those. And community events, too, right?
Yes.
And birthday parties.
We do birthday parties at the museum in
Jackson. That falls under your
Jackson.
education part, too, huh? Mm-hmm. All right. What parts of the state does the education department work in? Tell me about that.
We are statewide, so if you are in Hinds, Rankin, or Madison County, we encourage you to visit the museum and do a program with one of our in-house outreach educators. If you are in any other county in the state, we have an outreach educator that can come to you. There are 4 of them located in each corner. They each cover approximately 20 counties of Mississippi. And in 2018, we reached 63 counties. So we got almost everywhere, but we'd love to come out and do a program for you.
How do you schedule that?
On our website, you can find a map that'll show you which region your educator is in and all their email addresses. If you want to schedule a program at the museum, you can either call or email the museum.
So, you schedule the outreach educator or a program, so obviously you're going to a school, something like that, maybe. Is that what? Give me some examples of that real quick.
Yeah, they go out to the school. They each keep a small collection of live animals. So all of them have an alligator. Some have a snake or a box turtle.
Well, who brought
crawfish.
Pete today? Did you bring Pete?
I did. Pete is one of our education animals that lives at the museum.
Yeah.
He's an endangered species. So we use him in our education programs. We do take him to different festivals every once in a while. And one of the things I really like about Pete is that we have an active gopher tortoise research project in our heritage department. So Pete kind of gets to be the ambassador, and we use him for education, but it ties very well into what we're doing in the museum as far as the research component goes.
And he's a good boy. He doesn't hide. I mean, he likes to come out, and he's very curious and investigative, isn't he?
Yes, and if we have him outside at an event, he loves to go try to find clover and all the good things that he wants to eat. So he'll roam around and let everyone look at him. And
well, I told
touch
you
him.
could turn him out in here. I was just scared we might have a little Pete incident in here somewhere. But other than that, there's a picture up on Twitter. You can see it of me holding it. He's really cool. How old is Pete?
He is probably in his late 50s. We're not exactly sure, but he is very old.
Are you serious? Mm-hmm. Wow. So how did the museum come about acquiring him?
He was found at a fraternity at USM.
He was found at a fraternity.
And confiscated, yes.
So we don't know how he got at the fraternity, but he was there.
Correct.
Okay. And because he was confiscated because he was an endangered species,
Correct.
Obviously. Well, I'm sure Pete is happy where he's at now. I know he probably liked the fraternity life a lot when he was in his early years. But as we all know, we all have to grow up, but that's all good. Tell me about the collaborative projects that the department has to do to support research happening at the museum, and then we're going to talk a little bit about research coming up.
The Go for Tortoise project is one of them that Nicole will talk more about in just a second. Then we also have a grant for Gulf sturgeon. And so there's a fisheries biologist that's contracted out to study the Gulf sturgeon and take data on them. And 2 of my outreach educators in the southern part of the state are on that grant, educating people about Gulf sturgeon that would live in the habitat near the Gulf sturgeon, what to watch for, when they see them, when they spawn, everything like that. And so it's an example of us educating the public about the research that's happening on the back end, so that if people do see the fisheries biologist out, they kind of understand what's going on. They understand why they're important to report the location if they do see a Gulf sturgeon when they're out fishing, and that helps us collectively.
And let's talk about research as we'll kind of work now with Dr. Nicole Hodges, who is the museum's research coordinator, and she is here with us. Tell us what you do at the museum, would you?
I'm the Heritage Program and Research Program Coordinator. We monitor threatened and endangered species in the Heritage Program, and we use that data for our environmental reviews and environmental impact statements and for the species status assessments.
So you're basically out there, and what we're trying to do is say somebody like Pete, the old gopher tortoise there. We're trying to do everything we can to make sure that we don't lose Pete and the rest of them. How many gopher tortoises are there left? Do we know?
The average, I think, is at least around maybe 600 individuals.
Yeah.
They're mostly on the DeSoto National Forest. Well, at least that's the areas where we survey.
Mm-hmm.
So they may be on private property as well, but I definitely know that they're on the DeSoto National Forest.
And he's a pretty laid-back guy right there. And
oh, yes, definitely.
He works great with kids and everything. I mean, he let me hold him and everything. He's really cool. All right, tell me about the Heritage Program and what does that do?
Okay, so basically, like I said earlier, we monitor threatened and endangered species, plants and animals. The staff and I go out and update those records at least within 5-year period. And with that information, it's all stored in a database called Biotics. And with that information, people will send us environmental review requests, and we extract the data from the database and send them a response letter. We also use that information with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for the species status assessments. We also help manage 2 properties over in Greene County. We collaboratively work with Mississippi Department of the Wildlife Bureau and the MDWFP. We Fish and Wildlife Service and Mississippi Department, MDOT. I was trying to think of MDOT. Mississippi Department of Transportation. We all collaboratively work together to manage this property for gopher tortoises. And down in the low areas, we have bogs. So we went out and cleared all the trees there, and now we're starting to see Wary's pitcher plant, which is a state track species that hasn't been detected in many places. So it's popping up everywhere. All we had to do is give it sunlight.
There's all kind of projects you got going on in research, isn't it? Yeah. You're staying busy though.
Definitely.
So if somebody wanted to see Pete, wanted to get Pete to the classroom, they just call the website. Is that right? And be a part of that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Pete lives at the museum, and so if they wanted to see Pete in a program, they should schedule an endangered species program, because Pete is in every single one of those as long as he's healthy and well.
Yeah.
Pete sounds busy.
He's a busy man.
He's like a rock star.
Well, he was a big-time frat guy,
True.
and then made his way.
Wealth of knowledge in his life.
Got done through college, and now here he is.
6 years old.
Yeah, there it is. All right, we're going to talk about the aquariums when we come back. It's another part. And as much as I hate to say I love research and I love education, but the aquariums are where it's at for me with the museum. And a lot of people are like that. And we'll talk about that when we come back, as we'll have with us Karen Deeroff, who's the aquarist there at the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science. And we got Karen Deeroff here with us now. We're going to talk about it. She's the aquarist there. Am I saying that right?
Yes, my name, correct.
No,
but
aquarist.
Aquarist, yes. But I'm not the aquarist. I'm a aquarist.
A aquarist.
Okay. More than just me.
I didn't mean to give you something that.
Oh no, the guys will give me flack if I.
Hey, just tell them to come talk to me. Huh?
There you go.
I'll straighten them out. All right, tell us about the aquariums. I know that's a huge focal point of the museum. And again, nothing against the rest of it, but obviously that's a big draw there.
That's the first thing that most people think of. It's hard to compete with live animals.
Right.
Stuffed ones are wonderful, but they just don't compete with things that are actually moving and swimming. And so, yeah, we're definitely proud of what we do. There's 4 of us that work back there. We all take turns working every single day of the year, Christmas, weekends, holidays.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The fish, for some reason, they want to eat every day.
Every day. And so obviously y'all take care of them too as well. Help them if they're sick, things like that. Go through different things like that.
We do it all. Big aquariums like the Georgia Aquarium, places like that, they have separate staffs for everything. Everything from filter maintenance to collecting the animals to food prep. We do it all. Okay. We have 100,000 gallons of aquariums. We have 20 tanks that represent all the different habitats you can think of in Mississippi, everything from saltwater to little tiny creeks to great big reservoirs. So we cover the whole state. We go out, do our own collecting. We collect our own fish.
Right.
So we'll have several different methods we use to collect fish, everything from little tiny dip nets where we get out and kick a little creek and try and scare the fish up and let the current carry them into our nets, to electrofishing boats. So like the fisheries biologists will use electricity to shock fish up, stuns them temporarily. We can collect them and then bring them back to the museum and stock them in our aquariums. I take care of the saltwater tanks, so I'll even go out with commercial bait shrimpers and trawl up fish. So we do everything under the sun to collect the fish. We even trade with other aquariums. Sometimes we'll collect more than what we need of one type, and so there's quite the little trade and barter system with some of the local aquariums, like Aquarium of the Americas and Dolphin Island, the estuarium.
And of course, everybody's excited about the new Gulfport Aquarium. They've
Oh,
already
absolutely.
got the acrylics going up. That's going to be really cool as well.
Yeah, we're going to have a great working relationship with them, too, I hope.
Absolutely. I know you will. What are some of the unique animals living there at the museum?
Well, in our Pearl River Aquarium right now, we have a really, really large catfish. I think it's one of the biggest ones we've had yet. And we actually call it pet and fed. We usually don't name our fish, but this one we couldn't help but name because when it was in holding, in quarantine, we make sure the fish are healthy before we put them in the aquariums. We keep them in smaller tanks in the back. And this one figured out really quickly that people have food, and it would come up to the surface and stick its whiskers out and kind of sit there at the top and wait for you to shove food in its mouth and then let you pet it. So we call it pet and fed. It doesn't do it, unfortunately, in the aquarium anymore now because it's got more room to swim around. But when it was in holding, it was absolutely adorable. People loved petting a catfish.
That's funny.
Of course, we have a really weird critter. We have a 2-headed snake.
Really?
So, yeah. Not 2 heads, one on each end, but like the medical symbol. But 2 heads on one end of the snake. They're right side by side. They call it dicephalism. And there's only about 31 known alive in the world.
Wow.
So it's pretty rare.
What kind of snake is it?
It is a gray rat snake,
okay.
Non-venomous. It was found by a man chopping firewood. He pulled the logs out to chop the wood and found a whole nest, I guess that's what you call them, of snakes. And then this one particular snake had 2 heads, and his daughter convinced them that, Dad, we can't keep the snake. We have to put it at the museum where everybody can see it.
Sure.
It was about as big as a pencil when we got it. It was a tiny little thing.
How long has he been at the museum now?
Trying to think. We got it when my daughter was in kindergarten, and she is a sophomore at Mississippi State right now. So y'all do the math. Many, many years now.
For about 16 years?
Yeah, something
maybe
like
15,
that.
16 years?
Yeah.
So I got to ask this. I know you got a big old, depending on what part of the state you live in, we call them largemouth bass here. They're called black bass. They call them green perch down on the coast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what they call them, green perch.
Huh. Never heard that name before.
That's just what they call them on the coast. They call them green perch. So how big's the bass in there?
Well, the Reservoir Aquarium has several that are probably 5 to 7 pounds.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, we don't have any really big lunkers. Years and years and years ago, we had 2 that weighed about 18 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't have any great big ones right now, unfortunately.
They'll grow.
They'll grow.
They will end up growing, that's for sure. And then, of course, you got the Pearl River, you got the reservoir. You've got saltwater. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then we have examples of all different kinds of smaller creeks and streams throughout Mississippi. For example, 2 aquariums that are almost polar opposites of each other. One is called the Lois or Lurse Creeks, where the water is actually, the chemistry of the water is actually very high in pH, versus a blackwater stream, where the chemistry is very low in pH. I know we're talking chemistry, but
no, that's cool.
But they're very different aquariums. So you wouldn't find the type of fish in a Lois Creek in a blackwater stream because they would die because the water quality is just not right. Mm-hmm. So we have a small tank that shows the fish that live in riffles, where the fish are adapted to living in very fast current. Things like darters that don't have a swim bladder. So when they stop swimming, they sink. As opposed to brim and bass, if they stop swimming, they just kind of stay neutrally buoyant. But these darters have to swim or they sink, and that's actually an adaptation to living in fast current, where they'll have fins that help them grab onto rocks so they don't get washed downstream.
Well, that's pretty cool. And then, of course, it's always big fun when it's feeding time, right?
Feeding is a big time, yeah. We have advertised times set times where we feed on Tuesdays and Fridays at 10. And Sundays at 2.
And there's actually a guy that'll get in a scuba suit and get in there, right?
Yeah, we have a wonderful cadre of volunteers, people that just love to come to the aquarium and hop in the aquariums for free. They like blowing bubbles underwater, I guess. And they get in there and they feed the fish, and then one of us will come out front and interpret. So we all take turns doing that, but we love our volunteers that help us out with that. So if anybody is interested in volunteering diving, you have to be a certified diver.
Sure.
Come watch somebody else dive in the tank so you know what to expect and how the fish are going to react. But we couldn't do it without our volunteers.
I imagine that guy's pretty popular when he gets in the water, huh?
Oh, they love it. And especially this time of year when we have our school groups come, we'll have 100, 150 people.
No, I was talking about the fish get pretty excited when the guy gets in there.
Yeah, I thought you
It's
meant the
dinner
people.
time.
Yeah, they know. They know
Sure
the
they
sounds
do.
of somebody coming up the ladders
Sure
and
they do.
getting ready, and they're right there ready.
Yeah, sure they do. Absolutely. And so volunteers, not only with diving, what other things can volunteers do?
Oh, we have wonderful volunteers. We have teen volunteers, adult volunteers that help with everything from the animal care in education to doing programs once they get comfortable, helping in research, cataloging specimens, preparing specimens. We can find something for just about everybody.
We're kind of like a village. Like when you think about it, all these different components have to come together to make the museum successful. So we've had people that have provided volunteer assistance in the gift shop, and all the way back even into the fossil lab, where there's a counting and sorting of microfossils, which are surprisingly, helpful actions to help get some research done. So basically, if you have a talent to give, our volunteer coordinator can work with you and help you find the right place to apply that. We love retired teachers. We love people that have youth volunteer service projects on their agenda. We can do all that.
I was going to say, like a service project. I know my kids had to do service projects through high school. Will that work there?
And college, too.
Yeah, depending on the museum's need and what they're interested in. We evaluate each one on a case-by-case basis. We try to find the right mentor or person to work with it. Our trails group can always use people to help with that. Like we have a Trails Day coming up, and I know we have volunteers that are recruited for that. So if you have an interest, reach out to us, and we can help find the right place for you.
Wow. How awesome is that? And y'all can check it out. Be a volunteer. How cool would that be to go and do that? And I know this, if I had to do a community service project, that'd be one place I'd like to do it. That would be one to be up my alley.
We have a wonderful volunteer coordinator. Her name's Ann Taylor, and she's kind of like HR for volunteers. So reach out to Ann, and she'll hook you up with appropriate information.
Okay.
Just call our museum.
So do you have a favorite fish of them all? I mean, do you have your faves?
Of course.
Yeah.
I take care of the saltwater tank, and I have 2 fish in there that are called look downs. And they look like they ran into the wall at full steam and smashed their faces in. They have a very weird angle to their face. But they're just the coolest fish. They really are. They're real flat side to side. They're in the jack family, so they're some of the fastest fish in the aquarium. And they just look really unique.
I haven't been in a while. I need to come see y'all. In fact, there's something going on this weekend that might interest everyone, Nicole, and we'll talk about that when we return, all right? And what I'm talking about is NatureFest, and that's coming up. Karen Deeroff, the aquarist, one of the aquarists there, thank you for
My pleasure.
being here with us today and talking to us about the cool things that are swimming around at the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science. We'll wrap it up with Nicole Smith, talk about NatureFest, and we'll do that after this time out. More on the way for you next. All right, Nicole Smith, NatureFest. It is on the way, and it's happening this weekend.
This Saturday, it is the 19th annual NatureFest, and it's hard to believe that this event has been around for 19 years, but it is our annual open house, and it is our birthday celebration of relocating to the LaFleur's Bluff State Park from when we were downtown back in the day. There's everything to see at this. We use the entire campus of the museum grounds, behind the scenes, the trails, all of it. So everything we've talked about today, research, exhibits, aquariums, education, it all comes together in a culmination for NatureFest. So we're going to have exotic animal programs led by Freedom Ranch Wildlife Outreach. Terry Vandevender, the real snake man in Mississippi, is going to be there with his herpetology program. And we even have Todd Smith, magician, there for some family-friendly entertainment. We will have behind-the-scenes tours in our research and aquarium, so all these lovely places we've been talking about. You can see the lab spaces and the aquarium spaces, and there'll be lots of hands-on stuff for the kids to do. So whether you're a grown-up or a child, you've got something wonderful planned for you at this year's NatureFest.